Hi, this is Ones to Watch Chef's Choice. I'm Abby, and this is Sawyer Hill.
Hi, Abby. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
We were just talking about the LA rains, which is, always, it's like a cosmic experience because none of us know what to do. Well, all of the LA people don't know what to do. But you're from Arkansas? Or you, and still based
Still
there.
live there, yeah.
How does Arkansas compare to LA?
I mean, it compares in a lot of different ways. I'd say they're completely different in most ways. Americans generally are basically the same, like from touring this year.
Sure.
I mean, like before this, I never really went out of the country and stuff or went around the country, went to Missouri and Oklahoma every now and then for like a family trip, but seeing the country, like America's America, but like the weather from California to Arkansas is super different, like rains all the time, a lot of snow.
Okay.
And then it gets really hot. It's all over the place.
I love 4 seasons.
Yeah.
I do miss that. What city like, are you in more of like a city or like a suburby or like farmy area? Like, what does it look like for you?
Yeah, so I never really knew how to point a reference on like what kind of town I was living in until I went on tour. And then coming back to tour, I was like, oh, it's a college town.
Oh.
It's like, you go in the nightlife area, it's all these, dudes in their polo shirts, whatever.
That's right.
Fraternity guys and all the sorority girls. And it's like, this vibe of the city is very much so a college town. But it's a cool place. There's a lot of cool artists there that come out of that city. This other guy, Jesse Wells, is also from Northwest Arkansas, a super cool guy, as well as myself, obviously.
Of course, super cool guy.
It's a really cool, hip area of the state.
I mean, a college town is a very, like, isolated way to grow up, but in comparison to, like, other southern
for sure,
cultures,
It's not a village, per se, but where I grew up was, like, 15, 30 minutes away from Fayetteville.
Yeah.
And like Fayetteville's like, the city.
Okay.
And there's like, I don't know, 120,000 people there. And then Siloam, where I grew up, like when I was growing up there, I think it had like 15,000 people there.
Sure.
So it's smaller, but not like Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Not Wild West movie, yeah. I feel like places like that always have a really interesting music scene because I don't think there's like too much to do. Like I grew up in a really suburby part of New Jersey, which is close to like New York and Philly, but there wasn't much for me to do other than like sit at the piano and play music.
Totally.
Like every weekend.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how your upbringing was? Like how did you start in music?
Well, I definitely started sitting at the piano as a keyboard in my case.
Yeah.
And it would teach you how to play. You click a button and it like plays it for you.
Love.
Yada, yada, yada. And then I had a best friend who's still my best friend in like the 7th grade, who's like super into ukulele. And he taught me how to play ukulele. And then we got like super into ukulele. Like we got into classical ukulele. Jake Shimabukuro.
Okay.
If you ever heard of him.
I know the name.
He's a ukulele whiz.
Okay.
Like probably the best ukulele player of all time. And so we got into that stuff and I was like, okay, we need more strings. I started playing guitar, classical guitar. And then I met this guy in high school who was a senior when I was a freshman. And it was like, he was in a band and it was super cool. They rocked out Lunchapalooza. And I wanted to be a part of that. Yeah, it's legendary. And so I kind of joined that when I was like 14. They all graduated high school. They're like, we're playing bars now, so sorry. And I'm like, well, I'm going to play bars too. So I had my mom sign this affidavit that basically let me play all these bars in Fayetteville.
Wow.
And that kind of went on for years. And the music scene in Fayetteville was so cool because it was like, I talk about it with my like members of my band in Fayetteville. And it's like, man, I miss those days of like, you get off of high school, it's Thursday. Oh, what's the shows happening tonight? Oh, there's this people playing at this place, this people playing at this place. There's this house show, there's that house show. And some really cool musicians coming through there. And then COVID just like completely destroyed the music scene there. And I tell like younger musicians in Fayetteville, it's like, man, you missed out because it was so cool. I mean, just all these like house shows that really kind of inspired like what I try to do on stage as a performer. These shows that you pay like either nothing to get into or $5 to get into, and you're in the front row, and it's like this crazy stuff that you don't get in other places. People jumping through tables and running through the crowd, which is something I love to do, and some truly legendary stuff that happened there. And, you know, sadly, it doesn't really happen anymore, but trying to carry it on.
That energy, like the house show energy, is so like uncapturable in recorded music. Giselle and I both went to school in Boston, and I felt like the house show scene was amazing my first semester of college, and then COVID happened, and it was just like never the same, but I'm always still looking for that energy at shows.
It's such a bummer, and I love the house show thing, and if I could, I don't know, fund a tour by just playing house shows, I would. I mean, it's the best thing of all time to just be in a room and just having it be that intimate, and I really love to capture that when I'm on stage too, that super intimate feeling. You know, you don't get it from a lot of other shows.
Right. It's like the worse the sound quality, the better the show was, truly. And it's just like such the opposite vibe for a professional tour. But super exciting that that is what's happening for you right now. Yeah. To start, would love to know, if someone had never heard Sawyer Hill before, where would you tell us to start listening to your music? To step into this world of your tunes? For
sure. It's hard to say. I feel like the sound is kind of changing a lot, but I think the entry point for most people with my project was a song called Look at the Time. 'Cause when you say that I'm the only one, did you mean that I'm the closest one around? Probably a good start. I mean, you know, like I said, I started a band when I was like 14, 15, and I feel like that recording and those recordings that were all recorded together, which is Look at the Time, Firestarters, and Never Once, really captures like exactly what we were doing, just in a garage, in a living room, playing, like, and that's what we did for years, and we captured it well on a record, and that was Look at the Time, and I feel like that kind of sums that sound up.
I love that.
Yeah.
Is that the song that you were singing in the video that like went really big? Like there was one live video of you that I feel like everybody in the world has seen.
It's probably that one.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought, which is sick. Like hearing that playing live music at such a young age is really what like was the catalyst for you like stepping into music.
For sure.
Cool. Well, tell me about the story of that song. Like, why'd you write it?
Yeah. So, okay. The story of writing that song, I was in my room with the acoustic, I mean, standard songwriting stuff. And there's a lot of those lyrics in there that are kind of like maybe things I hadn't experienced at the time. Like mainly like there's a line that's like, when another lays in the bed you made and your best days are forgotten. It's like, I was 15. Like nobody was laying in my bed at that point. You know what I mean? But the vibes were there 100%. And when I was writing, I got to the chorus and I was like, damn, that's a hell of a chorus. And it really felt like, you know, an angel or spirit, an alien, something transcendent was talking through me. You know what I mean? I was also on a good bit of Adderall.
That'll do it too.
Which will help.
Yeah.
But besides that, I mean, I feel like creativity is this thing where you have your experiences, you have your playing ability on guitar, piano, whatever it is, and you don't sit there and think, well, I want to write a song like this. You know what I mean? I feel like creativity is a thing that happens to you rather than you know, manufacturing it in a way. It's like a collaborative process between you and your experiences, as well as like this transcendent thing that you allow to speak through you. And that totally happened. I mean, that song was written in like an hour or two. It was super fast. And I feel like that's kind of the best situations in songwriting, is when you're not overthinking it and you're just kind of throwing it out there.
I really love the way you phrase that, because I find it so hard to like sit down and manufacture creativity, but it is so like something that you kind of have to do or are pressured to do in this industry space. Are you writing with a lot of other people, or is it mainly still happening just by yourself, like in your room with an acoustic?
I love to write by myself, and I still definitely do that. And I never had the luxury of writing with a whole lot of different people. And here recently, it's been like, hey, there's all these people that want to write with you, and that's super fun. Collaboration is one of the best parts of music, at least the creation of music, is the collaborative process of it. But here recently, I've been writing with some other people and really making some great relationships. Like there's this whole like speed dating songwriting thing that happens in this city, and that can be kind of exhausting sometimes. But finding those people that you really connect with, where it's like, hey, we're here, we're writing a song, and it's like we're not overthinking every little aspect. It's fun.
That's really rare when you can find some collaborators that almost are like an extension of your brain.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't feel so like stale and like scientific.
Yeah.
Like we are still all like fueling off of each other's creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's super cool. Are you enjoying it? Is it
of course.
Is it a very different experience for you?
It is different, but I mean, I've always written with my friends in Arkansas, and in the same way, it's like, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
You know, but it's also like, it's their job. You know what I mean? And they're really, really good at it. Of course I'm enjoying it. It's so fun. There's, like I said, the speed dating songwriting thing is like not as enjoyable. Yeah. There's things to learn with any experience in life, but any time where you're just locked in and in that flow state and creating something that's like you're proud of, or something that's exciting creatively, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. You're not just in the room, let's write another Look at the Time. And it's like, let's just write something that's great and something that's amazing. And I feel like a lot of people think about other people when they write, and maybe that's a good strategy, and maybe I should try that at some point, but I really just try to follow what excites me and what's fun in the moment and what's cool.
I think the second you say like, today I'm going to write a ballad about like the passing of time, is when you end up writing like an upbeat song about living in the moment. Like it's like, it just is always the opposite of what you intend.
Yeah.
But I am curious like what your sort of sonic influences are, because you have a very particular sound that is also like hard to nail down like where exactly it's coming from.
Yeah. Which is, my phone keeps ringing.
That's okay. I also edit this, so like don't even worry about it.
2 phones.
Do you have 2 phones?
I do have 2 phones.
That's crazy.
I have 2 phones because I need more storage on my phone. Everybody use the iCloud. I'm not going to use the iCloud. Stop telling me to do it. I'm just going to buy another phone. So I bought another phone. And you can't download TikTok on a new phone.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a VPN workaround. For the meantime, I have my TikTok phone and then a normal phone.
That is just like the biggest representation of this era, if I've ever heard of one.
It is what it is.
Oh my God.
I had to post today, so I had to bring it with me.
That's, you're grinding, yeah.
You have to. But what the hell were we talking about?
I want to know some of your musical influences. Like, honestly, to start, like, what did you grow up listening to? For
sure. So I grew up in a Pentecostal household. I grew up in a very strict Pentecostal household.
Okay.
I remember there was one time I was really good at my religious school, like I had good behavior. I went to a religious school, not as strict as my Pentecostal family.
Interesting.
And as a reward for my good behavior, I got this tin of Pokemon cards.
Classic.
And I brought it home, and my mom was like, wait till your father gets home. And my dad got home and took his belt off and spanked the shit out of me.
For bringing home your little Pokemon
For bringing home
gift?
Pokemon cards, because it's witchcraft. So
that it is.
Yeah.
So true.
All that to say, I was super sheltered in what I was allowed to listen to or watch and everything like that. And so I grew up with gospel music for sure.
Okay.
I grew up with country music for sure. And I remember one of the things that I was allowed to listen to that was super impactful for me was Johnny Cash. And he's a badass, true rebel. And like, again, like, is he a sonic influence? I don't know. We both have deep voices, but I'm not like sitting there like, oh, let's write Ring of Fire. Yeah. And that's my thing with influences in general. Like, Johnny Cash was super formative for me. The next band that I was allowed to listen to that blew my mind was the Beatles. Still my favorite band of all time. Normie answer, I don't care. Oh, he's a normie. He likes the Beatles. Fuck off. They're the most successful band of all time. They're the most creative band for the longest period of time. They never settled. Imagine being the biggest band in the world for this one sound, and you're like, hey, let's not do that. Let's do the complete opposite. The balls on those guys. The balls on Johnny Cash. Fucking insane. All that to say, I love the Beatles. I love Johnny Cash. nothing about them like super influences me. There's a lot that's like admirable about them and their creativity and their songwriting.
Yeah.
But those things formed me. I remember the first like rock song I ever heard was Alien Youth by this band called Skillet.
Okay.
Christian metal band. They're doing some really weird stuff these days. I don't recommend it, but it blew my mind. I'm like, whoa, modern alternative rock.
That's wild.
Insane. But yeah, and then like I said, when I'm creating, it's that like, you know, it's hard to practice being creative, but I feel like you can practice channeling, letting that thing speak through you. And
definitely.
When I'm creating, it's like, okay, I'm just going to write a song that I like, that's important to me, you know, that I think is exciting or important or whatever. And then once you get to the studio, it's like, okay, let's write this riff. And then it's like, I feel like the textures of things, that's when the sonic influences come in of like, oh, would it be cool if this song, like this guitar tone sounded like a little bit like this guitar tone? Or you make it like, oh, this thing kind of has a Smith's beat. Let's give it like the phaser and the chorus pedal.
Totally.
Or, you know, I think like this drum part, you know, what if it was like the Paint It Black snare on every quarter note? Those are the things that we, like me and whoever I'm writing with at the time, but you just got to be careful with references in general, because you can go so deep into like referential and it's like, oh, it's got to sound like this song. And then it's like, what the hell are you doing? You completely lose the plot. So it's like, it's a thing to think about in the back of your mind and then just like keep going.
Yeah. Because you want whatever production and style that's like going to uplift the song and like suit the songwriting to be on it, not just like what you were thinking about when you wrote the song. Yeah. That's a really great point though, that there's like creative influences and then literally like are we going to use like this pedal steel that sounds like something, or are we going to fill that space with synth? And like those are the things that make it have like a genre. But going into like your current sound, I feel like the recent releases are like a little grungy, like a little bit more rock and stuff, but I totally hear the gospel influences. Like you've got the fucking voice for it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, stepping into our like main course, what do you feel like represents this current era of who you are?
For sure. I would say the song that represents this era right now is High on My Lows, or For the Hell of It. It's this like big hook. And I mean, I feel like over this period of like 8 songs, I think we're at right now, maybe 9 songs. It's like, I feel like there's different voices that I use, and I'm like still exploring as an artist and figuring out like the different ways that I can use my instrument. And like with Look at the Time, it's this deep baritone. And then like with Feel Right Now and Symphony, it's more of like that gentler sounding voice, some falsetto in there. And then with these songs like High on My Lows and For the Hell of It, it's like this crazy, like barky, like really powerful voice that honestly, I didn't know that I could sing like that consistently. And hearing that guy sing is like, wow, it's cool. And just like, I feel like that song's representative of this current sound.
I will stay by your side tonight for the hell of it. Let you take all my time for the hell of it. I don't care if we lie just a little bit. You know that I don't mind. Ash on her leg, in the back room smoking a red. The lights flash behind her head.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a lot of fun. Like it draws on all these like this 90s rock, this like 80s sort of like goth rock sort of stuff, and
definitely
it just has this voice that's so different. Even for me hearing it, I'm like, whoa, like it's crazy.
That's awesome. It's cool that you're like stepping into the modern influences that you're finding, like sort of as you're writing them too.
Totally.
That's sick.
I feel like a lot of that comes from like I was saying with Look at the Time, where it's like we're just guys in a living room. None of us know how to work a keyboard, and you're kind of limited by your surroundings, which limitations can create great art. If I say, you know, paint this canvas with 3 colors, you'd be like, damn, there's so many other colors, but there's also there's beauty in that, to be able to create something with limitations. And now like that there's less limitations, that I'm working with all these people who are so great at their job, I'm able to play around with so much more, and it's exciting.
That is really true. I feel like I always try to put this into words where like when I was younger and I didn't like, I went to college for music. So now I have this like theory, like knowledge.
Oh God.
Which awesome.
Which
like
is
I love
awesome.
that.
So cool.
But I like don't love anymore that like I'm sitting down and I'm like, okay, now I'm at a 6 minor and like I could resolve to the 1 or I could like deceptive resolve to the 5. And I despise that part of my brain.
Yeah.
And it's taken me years since graduating college to be like, like, let me throw away my degree.
Yeah.
So the limitations are really true. Like, how are you sort of navigating that? Like, are you trying different instruments or, cause now you're in awesome studios and working with awesome collaborators. Like the sky is the limit, truly.
For sure. And I mean, I feel like you have to go with your gut with anything and you can get so overwhelmed. Like just open up Logic with the sample packs that they have. And you're like, oh, I got to find a snare sound. Right. It's like you'll have a freaking seizure and melt on the floor trying to find one snare sound. And it's easy to overthink things. But I feel like if you just kind of go in of like, what you want things to sound like, I think that's great. You know, like you kind of have to be able to do that as an artist. And if you let things go with the flow a little bit without having that deliberate like thing of like who you are and what you want to say and what you want it to sound like, in some ways, like you can get super lost. So I think like it's fun to explore as long as you keep in mind those things. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of intentionality, is the EP announced yet?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Don't want to just spoil the surprise for everybody. I'm curious always, like once you're at that like 8 or 9 song point, I'm like, are you sitting down to be like, okay, now it's time for me to write a project? Or did these songs sort of like find a home together?
These songs found a home together for sure. That. These songs on the EP. You know, you always think about like projects like The Wall.
Sure.
Or The Black Parade, and it's like they're so strong conceptually, thematically, everything ties in. It's so fucking deep. And those are literally 2 of my favorite albums of all time.
Awesome.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, thinking about something like that is kind of intimidating, whereas like if you're going to the studio and you say, let's make a fucking great song and let's have it be true to me, like you can do that, but like to have that thematic through line across an album or a project requires focus and deliberation, and all these songs are amazing and they're true to me and true to who I am as a person and true to my experience and all these things. But like I'm definitely thinking about that now because an EP is great, but an album's even better, and it's got to be amazing.
It's intimidating.
And so I'm excited for it in that like to create something so cohesive and so deep, and people like, you know, Gerard Way and Roger Waters, like those people are so deeply inspiring to me, how like everything is so thought through. Yeah. You know what I mean? From one song to the finish. And I'm kind of having to graduate from, again, this guy in the garage playing the songs. Oh, this sounds fucking kick ass. Let's do that.
Yeah.
To like, you know, I want to do something that's like through and through, all hour of it is significant, you know, to the listener or the story that I'm trying to tell.
Yes.
Whether that's like full concept album or just like, you know, capturing a sound, capturing whatever, like.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to have a through line for an album. It doesn't always have to be that. Like,
most albums aren't concept albums.
Yes. The ones that are, oh my God, I don't know if I could do it. But do you feel like you found any like themes throughout the EP that just sort of like made themselves noticeable?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I write for the heart and I write for myself. And
totally.
I feel like it's like, okay, I got to go through and create a title for this EP. And we landed on Heartbreak Hysteria. And it's like, I feel like there's a lot of heartbreak. And then there's also this like manic side of things where it's like, it's kind of up and down in terms of like the meanings, but I feel like the through line is exactly that, the title, Heartbreak Hysteria. Like there's all this like pain, and then there's also this like self-aware, inflated sense of self and stuff like that. And I would say that's the through line for sure. And each song encapsulates an emotion. I feel like if you're an artist, I feel like that's kind of one of the main goals is like encapsulate that moment, that feeling, no matter how arbitrary it is or how significant or profound it is. Doing that, and I feel like that's the through line for sure, is that like, you know, juxtaposition between like heartbreak, whether platonic or romantic, and then just like all out mania.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Well, as we're approaching the EP, which is coming out in April, dope. What's the song that you're like most looking forward to for our dessert track?
For the dessert track.
Yes, the cherry on top.
For the dessert track.
We really should have some buttons with like cue voices. Yeah, I'll get on it.
Yummy. I'm excited for all of them. I'm excited for this next song called Aiming at My Head.
Awesome.
It's super fun. Sometimes I have a hard time, like, I don't know, just like when you're writing something, it's like, oh, it's got to be so fucking deep, man.
Right.
But if you just kind of say what's on your chest and like what's on your mind, that was a weird thing to say, but you kind of say what's on your mind and just have fun with it. It's a fun song. As my dad would say, man, that's a kicking song. Major. I feel like it's not a whole lot of times I write songs in the major key. It's a major key, and it's super fun. The vocals are like crazy, huge hook, and it's awesome.
And I'll never know, why can't you look at me in the eye, my friend? You're staring at your feet, aiming at my head.
It's like objectively harder to write a quote unquote like simple or happy song than it is to write like a really emotional, like complex.
Why is that, right?
I don't know. Maybe we have to overthink it.
I feel like a lot of it is overthinking.
Yeah.
It's so, I've been talking about this with my bassist, Josh Larson, who's also a major collaborator of mine.
Awesome.
And we're talking about songs all the time. And it's like, I listen to these songs from the 60s, right? One of them, for example, Time of the Season by the Zombies. Everybody knows that song. Good. What were they thinking when they wrote that song? Like, it's so like frivolous and like arbitrary and just like fun. Like the line, what's your name? Who's your daddy? Is he rich like me? Like,
dope though.
It's great. It has such a cool vibe to it, but it's like, I don't know. You wouldn't, I'd be hard pressed to write a line like that myself. You know, there's this band called Three Dog Night. They have this song. Well, I've never been to heaven, but I've been to Oklahoma. They tell me I was born there, but I really don't remember. It's like, it's so like light and fun, and it's like it doesn't take itself so seriously, but it's like a deep work of art that's going to be remembered for centuries.
And like each of those lines individually didn't really mean much, but then when you put them together, it's like, that made me feel something still.
Exactly, and they could be sitting there for so long being like, oh man, what's the most deep thing that happened to you? Let's put it in this like artsy fartsy thing. I've been in so many writers sessions where like somebody brings up like, let's rhyme with like, oh, maybe it's I need your warm embrace. It's like, bro, simplify it. Nobody fucking talks like that.
Literally.
I don't know. So it's hard, and maybe one day I'll write a really fun, frivolous, simple song.
I write a lot of music while I'm driving, and I find that gets me out of the overthinking.
Oh, that's sick.
Because I still have to operate a moving vehicle, so you can't think about it too hard.
Oh, for sure.
Or like, I know people will write while they're like running or something.
How do you do it without an instrument? That's my thing.
You ever just talk to yourself?
I do, yeah.
Or just sing to yourself? Yeah. I think it's like a cool experiment to write without anything, like just like a melody or just like words or something, and then put it on to the guitar. I'm gonna have to try that. Yeah.
The other day I was in my house and I was like, just like scream singing cuss words, and I was just like letting it rip, and it was like, you want me to do it?
All right, no, I was not asking you to do it, but I was gonna say that's your Oklahoma song.
It was so fun, and it's like, man, I don't know. It does take the weight off to just like hum it, sing it to yourself, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to be silly when everything is so serious, but
for sure,
we're looking for it. I
feel like that's the inclination as an artist, is like, oh, I got to make the most deep, profound thing, and it has to be super significant, but it can also just be super fun, you know what I mean? And that doesn't mean like, oh, make something super dumb, but like, make something that's fun, that excites you, and like, again, that zombie song, listen to those lyrics. What the hell are they talking about? I'm just imagining like 4 British dudes in a basement, like smoking a joint, they're like, yeah, that's fucking awesome. And it's like, I don't know what else is needed to write a good song.
Yeah, what's your name? Who's your daddy? Like, and they were like,
"You rich like me?" Were they rich when they wrote that? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. So strange.
I know. We need to re-access that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff from the '60s. That's like, anyways.
Before everything had to be 8 seconds long and have a shock factor caption on it.
Oh, for sure.
But
and then, I mean, they had their own problems. That's for damn sure. But
yeah, and you've got 2 phones.
I've got 2 phones.
Crazy business.
Yeah, I'm just some fucking guy from Arkansas here in Los Angeles with 2 phones. That's not going to happen in the 1960s. Definitely not.
Amazing. Well, I have 3 final questions.
What do you got
for you? They're very serious. I would love to know if your music was a candle. What would it smell like? Real smell or vibe, whatever feels right.
I get really nervous when I put on a candle these days because I read somewhere on the internet that it causes bladder cancer, and apparently they're not super reviewed by like the FDA. It's like the candle market is like, and this is just me, a guy from Arkansas here in LA with 2 phones, like just saying some shit he heard on the internet. So do your due diligence and fucking research it. But from what I understand, they don't actually like the quality assurance of candles being safe for your health is like not super thorough.
Wow.
All that to say, if my music were a candle, dude, I have a hard time with these fucking questions, honestly.
I know. I feel bad. I feel like I should sometimes give people these in advance because like,
fine.
I don't fucking know what I would say.
You know, like some people will be like, I don't know, like if you were a dog, what kind of dog would you be?
Literally.
I'm like,
well,
I don't know.
Give me the night.
I'm going to say winter candy apple or, winter candy apple because it's my favorite fucking candle and I like my music.
I feel like that fits.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like glossy, but also like chill, cold.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Spicy a little bit.
Totally.
Love that. I'd also love to know what your favorite sound is right now. That's not like a life sound, not a music sound.
I think the sound from Fortnite when the zone is shrinking.
That's your favorite sound?
I mean, it's one of them. I mean, I make a lot of sounds. I've been doing like the Donald Duck, like I do that when I'm like thinking. Awesome. That's fun.
The Fortnite one's such an anxious sound.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But I got like 3 dubs in a row the other day, so that was sick.
Doesn't bother you, yeah.
Hell no. Rotate.
My very final question is, who are your ones to watch? So like people you're listening to that we should listen to. Yeah,
so first of all, massive shout out to Jesse Wells. He's another Arkansas artist that's really making it happen. And
totally.
He's fucking deep and profound and all this stuff, and also frivolous and silly, and like he really runs the gamut. And I mean, just even growing up, he was a guy in the scene that everybody looked up to, and just like having this relationship with him now where we're like both kind of making our own way and stuff, and just seeing another artist from my state really doing something cool and different. Like,
that's sick.
He's totally that guy, and y'all should talk to him at some point. He's super dope.
Yeah, I need to check out his music.
Yeah, definitely do that.
Okay.
And then this other band, there's this band called Wonder Horse who played in New York not that long ago, and I was on the Oasis radio and they came up and I was like, damn, that's pretty fucking good.
They're real
good. And then
good.
I went to New York last week, and like that morning I heard one of their songs. It was like, I keep using these words, but it was so deep and it was so profound, and it like had me on the verge of tears. I'm like, man, this is fucking real.
Right.
It really made you feel something. And then my friend is like, yo, they're playing tonight. I was like, wow, such a coinky dink. Went there, saw him, and they were awesome. So Wonder Horse, Jesse Wells. Those are the ones to watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love this. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Abby. It's fun.
Yeah, and your short time in LA.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Well, everybody get ready for Heartbreak Hysteria. And once again, this is Ones to Watch Chef's Choice. We're here with Sawyer Hill. Yay. Thanks, guys.